Parkinson's does not arrive with a shout. It comes as a soft rearranging of the familiar, a thinning of the world's edges, a subtle shift in how the body keeps its promises. Long before a hand begins to tremble, long before a foot hesitates at the threshold of a step, the earliest signs drift like drift in like weather, quiet, persistent, strategically intimate. It often begins with smell, or rather the sudden absence of it. The morning coffee loses loses its warmth, earth, earthly instance. The lilacs in May stand fragrant for everyone else, but for the one person, they are simply purple. This loss is not painful exactly, it is disorientating, like walking in a house where someone has rearranged the furniture overnight. The world feels slightly further away. Then comes the night, which grows restless. Dreams spill out of their boundaries. A sleeper kicks, shouts, reaches for something only when they can see the body. Once abandoned to the quiet rules of REM, sleep begins to act out its stories. Partners wake to flailing arms. Sheets tangle. The room becomes a stage for a drama the dreamer cannot remember. This is REM sleep behavior disorder, one of Parkinson's earliest messages arriving years before the first tremor. The gut speaks next. Constipation settles in, not as an occasional inconvenience, but as a steady, stubborn presence. It is the kind of symptom people rarely mention out loud, yet it is one of the earliest clues that the nervous system is losing its rhythm. The gut, with its vast network of neurons, often senses Parkinson's long before the brain does. Mood shifts to a person who has never known depression Many suddenly feel the world dim. Anxiety may arrive like a new shadow. These changes are not failures of character, they are the earliest signs of a brain whose chemistry is beginning to change quietly, almost imperceptibly. And then a day the handwriting shrinks. Letters crowd together as if retreating from the page. A signature that once flowed now looks tight, compressed, unfamiliar. Micrographia, small word for a small script, but a large sign of what is unfolding beneath the surface. The voice softens. Friends ask the person to repeat themselves. The once the once confident tone becomes thin, airy, hesitant. Facial expressions flatten. The face becomes a mask, even when the heart is full. Arms stop swirling during a walk. Movements feel sticky, slow, as if the body is wading through invisible water. None of these signs alone announce Parkinson's, but together they form a consolation, subtle, scattered, yet unmistakable. To those who know how to read the early sky of the disease, Parkinson's is often described as a movement disorder, but that is only the final chapter of, of its story. The beginning is written in the gut, the nose, the dreams, the mood, the quiet places where the nervous system first falters. It's a disease that begins in whispers. And yet, even in its earliest stages, Parkinson's teaches something profound, that is still the body is a storyteller. It speaks in sensations, in rhythms, in small devastations. From the expected, it tells us when something is changing long before the change becomes visible. To notice these early signs is not to invite fear, it's to honor the body's language. It is to recognize that early awareness opens doors to evaluation, to planning, to clinical trials, to exercise and sleep and connection, all of which can shape the course of the disease. Parkinson's begins quietly, but listening closely, really listening, can turn those whispers into knowledge, and knowledge into a kind of steadiness, a way of meeting the future with eyes open, with courage, with the understanding that even in uncertainty, there is agency. Okay, guys, here is a multi-voice vetted version of my presentation. So here we go. First person, the first person. I first noticed it with the lilacs. Every spring they bloom outside our porch, a lavender tide rising from the thaw. Their scent used to meet me halfway down the walk. But this year, when I leaned in, the air was blank. I tried again, closer, deeper, nothing. It felt like someone had quietly erased part of the world. I didn't tell my wife. It seemed too small, too strange. Instead, I told myself it was allergies, age, anything but the truth that something inside me had shifted. The nights came next. My dreams spilled out of their boundaries. My legs kicked. My arms reached. My voice rose in the dark. I woke my wife's I woke to my wife's hand on my shoulder, her eyes wide, asking if I was okay. I didn't remember any of it. Then my handwriting began to shrink. My signature, once a confident sweep, looked like it was trying to disappear. I pressed my I pressed harder, willing the letters back to their old shape. They refused. And one morning, crossing the parking lot, I realized my right arm wasn't swinging. It hung stiff at my side as if it belonged to someone else. That was the moment I knew the whispers meant something. Uh, the spouse. I noticed before he did. The first clue was the way he leaned into the lilacs and then frowned. He didn't say anything, but I saw the confusion flicker across his face. He brushed it off, but I tucked it away. I've lived beside him long enough to know when something is off. The nights frightened me. He shouted in his sleep, short, sharp cries that snapped me awake. Once he kicked so hard the mattress shook. I reached for him, but he didn't wake. In the morning, he laughed it off, embarrassed. I didn't laugh. Then his handwriting changed. I saw it on a birthday card for our granddaughter. His letters were tiny, cramped, as if retreating from the page. He rewrote his name 3 times, each smaller than the last. His voice softened too. I found myself leaning in, asking him to repeat things. He looked frustrated, as if his words were slipping away before they reached me. And then, walking beside him one morning, I noticed his right arm hanging. Still, no swing, no rhythm, just a quiet stiffness. I didn't say anything right away, but inside I felt the shape of a truth forming. The clinician. I saw the pattern the moment he walked into my office. Not the tremor. There wasn't one yet. It was the way his right arm hung still as he crossed the room, the way his face held a quiet seriousness, the blank rate just a little low, the, the way his voice softened when he greeted me. I asked about smell. He hesitated, then admitted the lilacs had gone missing. I asked about sleep. His wife answered before he did, kicking, shouting, reaching in the night. I asked him about constipation. He nodded, embarrassed. I asked him to write a sentence. The letters crowded together, shrinking as they marched across the page. These were not isolated symptoms. They were consolation. Parkinson's doesn't begin with a tremor. It begins with whispers. Olfactory, autonomic, emotional, motor. My job is to hear them. When I said the word Parkinson's, he closed his eyes. His wife reached for his hand, and I felt the weight of the moment settle around us, heavy but honest. Diagnosis is not the end. It's a naming, and naming is the first step toward understanding. The braid. Three voices, one truth. A man losing the scent of lilacs. A wife walking to shouts, or waking to shouts in the night. A clinician reading the quiet clues of a nervous system. In translation, Parkinson's begins long before the tremor. It begins in the spaces between people noticed, feared, and interpreted, finally understood. It begins with whispers and with listening. Okay, guys, that is your shows for this evening. I will be back on tomorrow for shows. For now, Gator Wellness. Take care, folks.